Neither one of y'all's teams are favored in their division for this upcoming season. Jay, do you feel that is fair for your Howard Bison?
We can deal with it. We can deal with it. You know why? Because Howard University is America's HBCU, and for years, we're always an academic institution first. So until you win over and over again and get your colleagues to respect you, I'm not surprised. Yeah. You know, Howard's not supposed to be on the top of the football world, but the Bison had a great year under Coach Scott. The fact that they beat North Carolina Central by like 40 points last year, and you put Central ahead of them, well, the Bison should be upset about that. But I'm not really surprised because, you know, we're Howard.
Yeah.
And they ain't like us.
And Tiff, speaking of Central, they are on top of the preseason standings there again. What does that say about the state of that program?
Well, I think that Trey Oliver has done an amazing job, honestly, because it's a culture over scheme type of idea, and he comes from the tree of your Sam Washingtons, your Rod Broadways, and so he believes in developing from within. And Davius Richard was a gift to him for all 4 years in the way that he was able to develop him. That talent continues now. We'll see if Walker Harris can be that guy, but Trey Oliver is like intense. Y'all been around him. If you've ever seen him, you know it. And those players, I think, feed off of that.
But I mean, let's be honest. How fair is it? Davius Richard was the HBCU Player of the Year, 2 years running, and he's gone. And we know the backup Walker's pretty good, but however, to rank them over a team that beat you by 40, where are you getting those 40 points of offense from? I mean, that's bulletin board material day one for Howard University right there. I mean, I think that's the bigger disrespect than some of the other rankings we've seen.
Absolutely. And speaking of other rankings, FAMU picked second. Do you feel like that's fair to the defending champs?
No, I don't, because I don't think that it is warranted. And I'm going to say this because Alabama State showed flashes of what they could do, and there was a lot of expectation coming into this season. But as my partner would always say, in order to be the man, you've got to beat the man. And right now, nobody's been able to beat Florida A&M. They went undefeated in the SWAC last season. Alabama State has a lot of hope. But at the end of the day, it's FAMU who has the hardware.
Yeah.
I'm going to agree with her. Alabama State is a team on the rise, unproven though, unproven. And you have to have quarterback play. Florida A&M, the surrounding cast, that's a group that's won a lot of football games, particularly in that conference. And for them to take a team that has not won and competed for a championship in quite a long time, I think that's disrespectful as well. So I'm going to agree with that. I think, like Florida A&M, they deserve the opportunity to be ranked number one in their conference.
Sure.
We're not talking about the national rankings in their conference. What's going on in that SWAC?
Now, let me ask you this, because they did bring in Andrew Body from Texas Southern.
Yes.
What is the potential there of that offense for Alabama State?
He's got to be the missing piece. I mean, Eddie Robinson is a defensive coach by trade. So the defense at Alabama State is always going to be very good. They can compete for a championship. But Andrew Body needs to go back to playing like we saw him at Texas Southern. He's that dual-threat quarterback that when the play breaks down, he can get very creative and find a way to hurt you, and I think that's what they're going to utilize. Play great defense, and on offense, we want Mr. Body to show that he's a contender for the SWAC Offensive Player of the Year.
Now, Tiff, that's the East. What about the West here? Who do you like out West?
There's the problem. I don't know. I mean, because it is so up for grabs, and that's what we saw the last really couple of seasons. Prairie View A&M making it to the SWAC championship game, not necessarily the showing that they would have wanted to have a 500-year under Bubba McDowell, but I think Alcorn State has been that team that's been right there on the cusp. They moved over a few years ago from the East Division to the West Division, and I think Cedric Thomas, who was a part of that inaugural coaching staff that made it to the Celebration Bowl back in 2015, now takes the reign for the Braves and has a different sense of attitude and swagger down there on the reservation. So I think it's still up for grabs, but you can also obviously put those Grambling State Tigers and Southern Jaguars in the mix as well.
No.
14 race.
No.
14 race. Yes.
I mean, I'm going to say for them to pick Alcorn to be the number one team in the West, I don't get it. I mean, Alcorn joined the West, 3-4 years ago, and we thought they were going to make an immediate splash. They have not busted a grape since they've been in the West. They have not come close, and I'm calling them out for it. We really thought that they were going to be really good. Right? They're going to the West. The West is going to be so much more competitive. They're getting away from Jackson State FAMU. They've not come close in the West. So to say they're going to win it this year, that's disrespectful to Prairie View A&M. Prairie View A&M, no offense last year, but the defense was good enough. That defense still coming back, right? They made it to the championship. Southern University put up a lot of points. They got a coaching change. That's right. Alcorn's got a new coach coming in. That's a coaching change. So it's like, Grambling's got a new coach coming in there. So it's wild, but to give it to Alcorn, who ain't busted grapes since they've been on that west side. I don't see
Well,
that.
but they have been right there in the hunt. It's been a game or two. You know, it was like a couple years ago, Prairie View A&M kind of backdoored their way in this year. Again, it was not the greatest showing, if you will. But that's the problem
Alcorn
with the West.
They were getting busy
That's the problem
in the
with the
East,
West.
and they
Nobody
have not
wants
done in the
it.
West.
Nobody wants to grab
What's the more
horns and
dominant
take it.
side, the East or the West?
The East.
Okay, and so Alcorn won the East.
Right.
They made it to the Celebration Bowl winning the East. They go over to the West, which is easier. They ain't busted grape.
I
Not
gotta
at
tell
all.
you, Jay Walker knows something about beating Alcorn State. Go look that up for me real quick. But
Not once.
Not once, but twice.